Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merle Hutchinson with my co-host and parenting partner, Linda Hutchinson.
You got kind of the weird giggles today. Are you okay? You're like a little fidgety?
I've got a sty in my eye, and I think it's affecting me.
It's so far away, they would have never known if you didn't.
I don't know. Let me wink at you, and you can see it. You can see it from a mile away.
Oh.
But hey, I'm medicated now. We're going to get it under control, and it's all good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm excited. You seem
Why
a
is
little
that?
too excited, too.
I'm not overly excited. Why are you excited?
Because this is one of my favorite seasons.
Oh,
This is the season
this
we both...
you're already shifting to show talk. Yeah. Now this is an exciting topic today.
Yeah, because you and I were educators in this age bracket, so we spent a lot of years working with teenagers. So welcome to Rock Solid Radio.
Well, the cool thing about our topic today is that you get to see in this season that we're going to talk about, you get to see the fruit of your labor. That's the cool thing. The bad thing is you get to see the fruit of your labor.
That's right.
Okay.
Or your misguided labor.
Yeah. And so this one is really this is a phase where the season where parents sometimes get so frustrated. They get really almost like
stressed out.
What can I do? Because they see so much of the formulation of the child that they have is not in concrete yet, but it's getting casted. And so they get panicked, they get worried. But also this is a time where you also see things in your kids and you go, you know what? Wow, they're growing up.
Yeah.
They're growing up. And so obviously, the more of that pleasant feeling that you get as a parent, the more of what you're seeking. But we're going to dig into this today. This is season 3. This is the season of mentoring, ages 13. We say 13 to 18, but 13 to 21, somewhere in there, just depending on whether your kids are moving out or going to college or whatever. But you get the picture.
Yeah, hon, you were saying that, and I think back just recently, our son was at a restaurant, and he kind of befriended a child, actually, and it was a special needs adult that he had met during a school field trip. And he was just so sweet and so kind to this young man. And then his parents came up later and said, "Oh my gosh, this is who this is. Our son's been talking all about him, and he just loved meeting him." And, it just warmed my heart. It's like, oh, we're doing something right, And
yeah, but you're not out of the woods because you
No.
also then get to see who that teenager is in your home. So what we're talking about in some cultures, we talk about like the age of accountability. Sometimes we talk about that in the faith talk, well, the kids are coming to this age of accountability. Yeah. And so I do want to be very clear, as we've said before, these are seasons and they are transitions. They're not off and on switches where we just all of a sudden hit it and we went from a kid to an adult and everything should be making sense. It doesn't. Right. But the mindset does have to start to change.
Yep.
And it is led by the parent, as the parent says, okay, I need to bring you to the next level. Okay. Yeah. And so we're going to get into all of this. So this is a good topic, but hey, what you're getting ready to say something. I don't want to interrupt a good thing.
I am, and I
never want to interrupt your thinking process.
I'm going to lose it.
I'm
going to lose it if you don't give me a chance. No, I just want to put a little disclaimer. We're not trying to create or expect perfect robots, okay? These are children. These are humans. Yeah. And so this isn't going to be like, across the board, you do this and you get it right, okay? There's this thing that God gave us called free will. And so we're going to do our best to help you, equip you as a parent to really walk alongside your kids and equipping them to be a successful, well-adjusted, loving adult. And we believe these seasons are really helpful in that.
Yeah, well, and you're saying that reminds me of we better go back and think about the original goal, like when we said in our last season 2 leadership, well, where are we leading to?
Right. What's the vision?
And so the values and the vision. So if that wasn't formed well, now you're going to get to actually see whether the whole ship is going off the plan or if they're on it. So let's thank our sponsors, and then we will get into more of season 3 mentoring.
So we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for their support of Rock Solid Radio and Rock Solid Families, the parent company or ministry of this podcast. And we're so thankful for them and so many community sponsors, churches and schools and nonprofits and businesses that have really walked alongside. We actually have a whole Rock Solid partner page on our website of just so many people. So man, if you are listening and you've benefited from this, please let people know. Let people know that support this ministry, support this show, these businesses, because we cannot do this without them.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple of announcements. As we said last week when we presented this, and so to kind of just, if you're getting this in real time, so to speak, we are coordinating this with a parenting series we call Families Rock. And so Families Rock is going to be launched on September 7th, and it will run the Wednesdays in September. And it's going to be hosted over at the East Central Performing Arts Center, East Central High School Performing Arts Center. It'll go from 7 to 8:30 p.m. There's childcare provided.
Right.
Okay.
They have to be potty trained.
They have to be.
No diapers.
That's questionable. All right. I'll wear my Depends. But anyway, this is a pretty great opportunity, guys.
Yeah,
it's
free
a great opportunity. And really, this is for any age group parent. I think you're going to see a lot of our conversations centering a lot around season 2 and season 3 type stuff. But you know, the door is wide open, especially when we do some Q&A time for us. Not to be the experts and know all, but let's have the conversation. Because sometimes you do have to brainstorm through things and go, all right, well, you know, here's what past experience have shown us. Here's what research even shows us. So let's try to put together the best plan we can.
Yeah, and there's some great incentives, not just for you as a family. We're giving away some movie packages and gift cards for dinner and trampoline parks and things like that. But your teachers, your child's teacher could win a grant that allows them to really pour back into the classroom. And so you just attending, and by the way, if husband and wife comes, that's 2 opportunities to win for your family and for the classroom. So really, this is a great opportunity just to support your teachers, to walk. Man, you will be the favorite family if you're the one that goes and supports and puts that teacher over the edge of getting to really pour into their classroom with some finances.
Your kids will love you because you'll be parenting them very well.
There you go.
And
that's right.
Your teachers will love you because you give them a greater chance.
No,
I think they'll love them.
Eventually.
Long term. Like when they're 25, they'll say, thanks for going to Families Rock, Mom and Dad. All right. Also, I want to throw out a little something here of our marriage program, our Rock Solid Marriage course. If we can help you guys, if you're tired of this mediocre, day in and day out, same old kind of thing, this marriage that's kind of functioning, I always say the most dangerous season a baseball team or any team for that matter can have is a 500 season. Because that 500 season, you tend to come to the end of the season and you go, well, at least we weren't the worst. But we aren't the best. And so because you have a 500 season, you don't really have a lot of motivation to change it. And so, no, we don't want people to be in the losing season. But sometimes you got to have the pain of the losing season that motivates you to say, we've got to do something differently. And so what Rock Solid Marriages is about is let's move those 3, 4, 5, 600 seasons, those lukewarm marriages. Let's move them to a place where you're thriving, where you're winning, because that's going to be given as a gift to you, not just yourself, but to your kids and the generations that follow. So if you want more information, that's a 10-week program, 7 different steps that we go through. And we really do. We build from the foundation level, and we tear down old habits, bad habits, and we actively rebuild new ones that are healthy and strong and get you to a place where now you see what you have, and now you learn even how to maintain the new formulation of that marriage.
Yeah, and it affects everything. It affects how you parent. And so maybe as we talk about season 3 this week, you're going to be like, well, my husband and I or my wife and I are not on the same page. And so sometimes it's going back to the foundation on what you're building your marriage and your family on. But, Ecclesiastes 3:1 says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. And so John Roseman, one of our favorite authors, speakers, psychologists, wrote this book called Parenting by the Book. And so we've been using this the last couple of weeks to really guide us through these seasons of parenting. And so if you've not picked up this book, you can get it on Amazon or his website. And we really encourage you to read it. It is so good. And man, it is so common sense. It blows my mind how far we've strayed. It's
almost embarrassing.
How far we've strayed from common sense parenting and biblical parenting and what God has asked us to do. And so he compares it to seasons of growing and planting seeds and watering and seeing the fruit. And so as you hear us talk, we're going to be talking about really getting to start to see this fruit of your labor, of the seeds you planted and the way that you watered it. But wow, it's a good read.
We're not just talking about in these seasons of what the child will do. We are referencing some of those behaviors, but I think as we point out, the child's going to grow, right? Like the corn plant's going to grow. What our deal is how do we make it grow well? How do we make it be bountiful and productive? And so that's where the farmer comes in. That's where the parenting comes in. So you have specific roles and jobs, duties that you do in each season to help ensure the best that you can in terms of the final outcome of raising up this new adult. And so the third season that we're talking about, the second one was leadership and authority.
And the first one was?
And the first one was service.
Right, 0 to 2.
0 to 2 was all about service. The second one is that 3 to 13 is all leadership. Like, okay, the kids need to know who the leader is, who the authority is, and not authoritarian dictator, but authority, like the quiet, calm, steadfast person who says, follow me, all right? And now we're actually getting to this point where we're in season 3 and we're into the mentoring, all right? Yeah. And the mentoring, this still doesn't, like we said before, it's not a light switch where you just turn it on one day.
Oh, I mean, do it all.
In fact, so I'll share a story about just our older boys when they were in their teenage years. They worked for me in the summer. And so we would be rehabbing houses or building decks or doing whatever the project was. And so their bodies were nearly as big as mine. So they had these, teenage kind of bodies.
Strong backs.
But their brains.
We're still developing.
And so I remember getting so frustrated because their responsibility was not quite there yet. They were great, great guys. So don't get me wrong. But you make assumptions because their body and their brain seems to be big that you'd say, hey, I need you to go paint this over here, whatever. And I'll share the story of Zach. He literally...
You used his name.
I know.
Sorry, Zach.
But he literally, I paint it generally on this deck. I paint this and he literally painted the one board of the deck that I was pointing at. And I came back an hour later. He'd been sitting there for the last 55 minutes. He's like, well, I finished that up a long time ago. I'm like, you painted one board. I mean, I asked you to do the deck. He was like, well, you didn't say. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hurt somebody.
But he's a mature, responsible, productive adult now.
He has matured.
Children of his own. He's going to be going through these seasons.
I can't wait.
Right? Yeah, but if you've bought into the lie that our country, our culture is saying today, you might find yourself stuck either in season 1, probably season 1, hon, if you've not even moved into last week's show about season 2 and the leadership thing. Our world today has got our parents, especially, I'm just going to call out the moms, over-involved, over-focused on our children. And it is, at some point, you feel like a husband especially feels like you're married to your child and you put all that focus on them and all their needs. And that is not what season 2 is about. Season 2 is about not serving them anymore, but showing them how to serve and how to do things and how to partner with you and follow your lead. And if you don't do season 1 and 2 well, then this season is going to be so tough.
Yeah, and we're going to go back and say, okay, listen, this is not a beat down session, so we didn't do things as well as we'd like to in season 1 and 2. If that's the case, well, what are we going to do? So let's go through season 3, hon, and then because none of us did season 1 and 2 perfectly, and so there's certain areas where we've had to go back and redo some things. All right.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about season 3, okay, the mentoring, all right?
Yeah.
So just to think about this, like a lot of cultures, religions and cultures actually have a very formal process that they will go through when their kids are somewhere in that 13, 14, 15 years of age. And we think of it as a rites of passage, okay? And like in the Jewish world, you know, you got the bar mitzvahs and the bat mitzvah, and just the idea that there's a very formal process where you're like, okay, moving forward, we are not going to be thinking of you as that little boy who goes out and plays on the playground. We are having a different expectation. Sometimes we see, like in the Catholic faith, we have a confirmation.
Right. An adult acceptance of their faith.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, your parents helped you early on, but now you have to own your faith. And even in just the Christian church, non-denominational church, you will hear like baptism should take place somewhere in the age of accountability. And well, what does that mean? Well, do you really know what you are doing in terms of giving your life to Christ?
Right.
So there's lots of different ways that is kind of spun out. But the idea here is it should be intentional.
Yes.
And when it's not intentional, if it's not intentional, the mindset never really changes.
Yeah.
And we just sort of gradually hope and suspect and think it's going to change, but you really need to call it out and make it very intentional.
And so let's do a modern day example of how we've played this out in our home. You know, instead of giving a child a phone at the age where they feel like they should get one, and for our kids, it was like 4th grade, we've said, no, you're going to get a phone. For our older ones, 10 years ago, it was when they drove. And then we moved to 8th grade. That was the rite of passage, that if you've shown responsibility and maturity, then this would be when. Not when you feel like it, not when your friends get it, but we feel like this is the rite of passage. Same thing with driving a car.
Yeah.
You know, the state of Indiana says it's age 16 and you can start doing your temporaries driving at age 15. So, okay, that's the general rite of passage. But if at age 15 and 16, you've not shown that maturity, okay, then, you know, we're trying to work toward that rite of passage. Same with a job, things like that. And so those are ways that we show our children, we're mentoring you into a new season of your life.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, you know, many of us don't really remember a time of a rite of passage. You know, maybe you did something in your family, maybe you didn't. But in general, in society, there are different times for this, like the driver's license, right? Maybe like the first job that you get, a paid job where you're actually working outside of the house. And so these are things that are real. And let me just say this, and I'll just say it's scary. I think it's criminal would be a hard word to use, but the idea that many parents, because they're stuck, like you said, in season 1, or maybe they're confused on season 2, that their kids are 17, 18, 19 years old, and they're still not driving a car. They're still down in the basement. And as all I would say to that is that's
still
more
handing
about
them money.
Yeah, that's more about you as a parent not bringing your kid up through this. Now, again, don't get me wrong. If your child has some developmental disability that impairs them to that they aren't ready, I get it. Okay, we're not being foolish in this area.
Right.
But what I'm saying is you really want to encourage your child. Like, listen, hey, you are coming into that 15, 16-year-old range. Right. We do expect that you're going to go through the hard process of learning, not just to drive the car, but the responsibilities of the car. And so this is something, please, mom and dad, don't like cuddle your kids away from this, because you are impairing their growth.
Yes. Okay, so I have a confession to make. And this isn't even in my notes.
It's about time. Oh.
So, okay, since we mentioned Zach, I'm just gonna.
Poor Zach.
God, Zach, we love you.
You make for good conversation, buddy.
Well, you know, our oldest son, I did this to as well, but he moved to the Naval Academy where they continued to do his laundry. Okay. But when Zach moved to college at Miami University, no one was there picking up his laundry at the door and taking it and washing it for him and bringing him back. But I do remember Zach calling the first couple of weeks of school and saying, Mom, I have no idea how to do laundry because I had not done this well in mentorship in this season where I had him do his own laundry. I'm ashamed of that. And I am sorry, Zach, that at age 18, you had to ask me how to use a washing machine. But that was one of those things where I should have. And so our 3 youngest kids have done their laundry.
They feel like they're being cursed.
But that was something I learned from Zach. Like I did not prepare him for college.
Yes.
And that was wrong of me, that I should have had him being independent in that way so he knew how to do that when he moved out.
Yeah. Think about
Confession.
this. Yeah. Well, we can go through all kinds of areas. A lot of them, we maybe didn't teach our kids well about money and about health and about, hygiene, whatever it is. Like that's the point here is not to get too beat up on these things. It's to kind of be thinking about the vision. And so you said the word before, and I want to kind of remind it. So there's 2 words here. One is emancipation. And so emancipation is thought of, there's a legal use of the word emancipation, and sometimes kids either ask to be emancipated or they are naturally emancipated, where they are now able and basically proving that they can take care of themselves, whether they're able to get the job, pay the bills, whatever. But so they are no longer under the ticket of their mom and dad, okay? And the idea here is to be intentional about emancipation.
Yes.
Not like, well,
when they're 13, 14, 15-year-old, not when they're 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah. And this is, this is the whole people go throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I remember in our home growing up, there was always that expectation that at 18, don't let the door hit you in the butt,
We love you,
and
but...
so there was lots of conversation like, well, hey, when you're 18, and at 18, nobody's, got their butt hit by the door. But at 18, I will say all of us paid room and board. All of us were expected to work.
Pay
there
their bills.
wasn't an option to lay in bed, okay? All of us were expected to go to school or get a training or some sort. And so the idea there was our parents were driving us towards emancipation.
Right.
And there was intention about it. It wasn't like, well, maybe they'll figure it out. And I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully they figure it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully they figure it out. You have to help them figure it out. And you do that through demanding through a boundary of this is where we stop.
In season 3.
Yes.
You cannot start having that conversation when they graduate from high school. That's not when you start having that conversation. This season right now, and we're going to get to season 4 next week, this season is when you start to have that conversation about money, the bills. They think that it comes out of the water tap. They feel like it's the ATM, like, you're just going to give them what they need and they need to know.
Why should they not, right?
Why should they not?
The ATM
because
keeps spitting it out.
We've created this because you're back on season 1 where you serve them and give to them whatever they want and need. And that is not where we're at. You're not helping your child by doing for them what they can do for themselves. So this season really has to be about mentoring and showing them.
More often than not, you're selling your child short, okay? You're selling them short. They're way more capable than you might believe. And oftentimes you're providing for them out of your own insecurity or fear of their potential failure. And so if this is more about you not wanting to look like a failing parent, you really need to, you yourself need to mature in the parenting role. Right. Remember, our goal, we stated when they were 3, 4, 5 years old, we stated our goal was that these kids would be ... that you would fill in the blanks. By the time they were 18 to 21 years old, they would be able to do what?
Right.
All right. And so were you constantly working to get them there?
Yeah.
All right.
And so when you say that, hon, I also want to reiterate the fact that, or do you want to be the popular parent? Do you want to be the one that teenager is like, you're the cool mom because you let them drink in the basement and you're drinking along with them, or you're so focused on their needs, you're buying and buying and buying for them and you look like the really cool buddy. That is not what we need right now. That's not what your kids need right now. They need a parent who's mentoring them and showing them healthy.
So going back to the idea of mentoring, mentoring is showing what the next level of expectation is, but mentoring is also, you are by nature the natural person of accountability. Okay? And so you have to really be good about saying, hey, you messed up there. There's some accountability for that. So, this is where they screw up. They go out and they hanging out with their buddies and they vandalize something. And, it was all fun and games when they were doing it, but they end up destroying something for a few $100 or whatever. You don't pay that bill for them.
No.
Right? This is on them. They get thrown in jail. Okay? You don't go down and rescue them. All right. I mean, you have to understand that this is where the learning is taking place. You can't do that. Let them go through the process. All right. It doesn't mean you don't have their back, but having their back by bailing them out is not necessarily the way to help them.
I had a friend who wrecked her car when she was 16, and in the next day there was a brand new car, the same color, same model with a big bow on it in the driveway. So what did that teach that girl? Like, it was not anything. I can go out and
wreck this one.
Yeah, no suffering, no consequences, no pain. And so we're not helping our kiddos learn anything.
All right. So let's talk about the harsh reality. We all mess up. Okay.
Like I said, I messed up.
We all mess up at various points and in different stages, different parts of the seasons. We're like, oh my gosh, why is my kid kicking back at me now? Why is this not going like, the textbook said it would be? Well, because we're humans and we all have our own shortcomings. And so part of it, Hun, is if we get to this point where we're seeing our 15-year-old and they're not taking the initiative. They're not doing their work. They're not doing anything, You have to look back first and say, okay, where are we missing the boat in terms of how we had the expectation placed out on our kid? And maybe it's because, like you said, maybe you got stuck in the service stage. Maybe you've continued to do their laundry, whatever, okay? We're going to ask you, have that hard conversation with yourself and with your spouse. Okay, like, what do we need to do? Okay? Because it still is not too late. They're still under your roof, all right? And don't lose sight of that. At that point, you have to do what sometimes you hear us refer to as the hard reset. Okay? You call it out like, man, we've kind of mishandled this. We've messed up. And between the two of you, you come together and say, all right, where did we mess up? How did we do that? Now, what will it look like moving forward?
Right.
And so this is where we come together and say, okay, and you and I do this all the time because, sometimes the rules, stuff like we'll meet back in our bedroom or bathroom area and I'll say, okay, so
regroup.
where do we want to go with this one? Okay.
Yep.
And we'll talk about like, okay, this is, how about if we do this? And we always kind of go back and forth with, well, will that work or not? And then we go, all right, let's do it. And at that point, this is never a sneaky, we'll try to sneak it in under them so that we can rebuild the foundation under the floor they're standing. No, we're going to let them know.
Yeah, they're at the age where they can understand.
Yeah, and so during this reset process, you would literally bring everybody who's involved, you'd bring them around the table, okay? Bring them into the dinner table and say, okay, guys, we need to talk. We've noticed over the last months, years, whatever it's been, that Mom and I maybe didn't understand something like we needed to. And we start by saying that because here's how you want to say it oftentimes. We've noticed over the last months that you kids are messing up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's
disrespectful.
That's just not going to cut it, guys. Yeah, right away, if I'm a kid, I'm naturally going to go defensive on you. And so I am going to go through this process of apology. Mom and Dad, we didn't understand some things. We didn't carry through with some things. And so this is what we've messed up. And the result is we're noticing that now you don't know how to do your laundry. Or now you're expecting this, and it's very bothersome to us or to other people, okay? Yeah. And then at that point, Hun, what do we need to do?
Yeah, we need to apologize. Now, I will say this, and let's give an example. For instance, let's say that we've not been on the same page, and so we've been very inconsistent in our discipline and our rules, okay? And so it's very confusing to a teenager. Like, do I have a curfew? What happens if I don't do my curfew? Whatever. or money. If I run out of gas, or dad slips me money, mom won't give me money, or whatever. Yep. And so whatever that inconsistency is, it's really important that you apologize that, hey, Dad and I'm sure, have been very confusing to you because we're realizing that we're not on the same page and very inconsistent on what we do in this season. And so we're sorry that we messed up. And now what?
And now we cast the new vision.
Yes.
Right? So even though they're 13, 14, 15 years old, we come together and we cast a new vision. So I'll go back to the gas money.
Yeah.
Mom and I have decided that moving forward, we are going to give you this much, or we're not going to give you gas money, or we expect this. In other words, we are going to lay down the new expectation. And we're not going to just say, this is not like we're doing this because you need to be punished. No, we're doing it. We're going to tell them, like, you guys need to know that this is part of you taking responsibility.
Growing up.
And we have not done well with helping you do that. So moving forward, this is how we will roll, okay? And again, alignment is critical. It's critical. And you can't all of a sudden 2 months from there, you see your kid complaining because he doesn't have gas money and you slide him a 10. Well, that's only about a gallon of gas. So maybe a 20. All right. And so you've got to be very no, I'm sorry. We've said our daughter is actually very close to this area right now where she's going to be knocking on our door. And we're like, that door's closed.
Because she's not getting scheduled for work, and it's like, you don't work, you don't drive, you know. And by the way, you're right, hon. We have got to be on the same page because, man, our teenagers can smell blood in the water. And it's going to be like a shark going after you and just eating you alive if you guys are not united and clear about your vision and what that looks like.
Once you've stated your new vision, remember, this goes back to season 2. You are the leader.
Yes.
And that's actually what you're trying to establish. You didn't do season 2 well in terms of telling them and letting them know that you were the leader. And so once you they don't get to weigh in on saying, well, Mom, I think you've got this wrong. I think what the new way should be is this. No, you are the leader. And so you moving forward, this is what we've come to agree on between Mom and I.
Yeah.
And so this is what it will be. This is not negotiable at this time. Okay. And so we're going to lay that out. Now, I don't know. Every kid comes with their own personality. All right. So you maybe get one kid and goes, okay, I get it. All right. But that would be a weird kid. I would take that kid. Most of them are going to be like, what?
Push back.
What? Like, how come you're changing the rules? Here's the key. Once those rules change in their mind, you better be consistent.
Yeah.
You better be consistent because they're going to fight you until they realize that, I guess this is the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, so let's flash back to season 2. And if you've not done that well, let's say it was more like a 4 or 5-year-old who's at the grocery who wants candy. This is always the mom's worst nightmares. They're in the checkout line. It's a long line and the kid's screaming for candy. You have to make a decision there. Like, am I going to give him the candy to shut him up, or am I going to endure, or am I going to leave the cart and go home, whatever. But man, if you give in to that tantrum, you give in at age 4, they're going to try it at 16. And it's because they know, they've learned, if I throw enough of a fit, if I scream and yell and cry or whatever, if I push back long enough, their no really doesn't mean no, it means not yet. And so I'm just telling you, season 2, if it's not done well, you are in for a battle in season 3.
Yeah. Remember this, we were talking a little bit about the power struggle, okay? And we want to be careful with the power struggle. A power struggle only exists if there's tension between two people. And so you as the parent, you as the adult, have to cut the rope for the tension, meaning you are not going to even engage in this tug of war. Here's what it often looks like. You present something, the kid doesn't like it, and so they come back with their argument. You and your insecurity and your need to be in control, you double back down with trying to convince them why you're right. No, and the next thing you know, you're in this bickering match. You've already messed up, okay? Because true leaders go, this is not up for negotiation. Like, this is what we've said. This is what we're doing. I'm going shopping. See you later. And that's not rude. That's called being a leader, okay? And so this happens all the time, and it happens with good-willed people, guys. It's not like we're evil, bad people.
People who don't like confrontation, mostly.
What do you mean?
People who don't want pushback, who don't want an argument, who don't want confrontation, they'll just give in.
Well, they'll get, and we're not giving in.
Right. I'm saying that's when
it
happens.
Yeah. And so we just detach from the argument, all right? And we don't let our emotions get in the way. Like, one of the worst places that we can go in parenting is guilty parenting. We've done entire shows over that.
Yep.
And so because we've messed up earlier or our kids had their feelings hurt, we go, I don't want them to feel bad.
I wasn't consistent. Yeah.
Guys, don't go down that road. It's not what a leader does.
I'm laughing because I'm chuckling because I'm remembering a podcast we did last year when we did the role modeling or role playing, and I did the angry teenager who was getting pushed back.
You were yelling at me.
Holy cow. I got so many
You scared me
about that. It was kind of fun, but man, we were doing that outside, and I was waiting for our neighbors to call the police. Like, yikes, she was screaming and yelling at the car. So,
all right.
Not good.
So pretty much wrapping up there, season 3 mentoring. And, as we've talked about, like all of these seasons are building on the one before. And we've talked about building homes before. If you don't have that foundation solid, no matter what you try to stack on top of it, it's going to come tumbling down. And so make sure you've gone back and rethink about how the foundation is being built. And you always can go back and kind of rebuild and shore up that foundation, all right? But please keep it going as you go out there with the expectation that you're trying to grow up people who are going to be the people that are going to be contributors to their next generation, their family, to their religion and culture, everything they're involved in.
Yeah, and we're in the trenches with you. As we said, we still have 2 teenagers at home, so this is our season right now.
We're hitting reset button on a regular basis around here.
So we feel your pain, but I'm telling you, there is such joy because now we have 2 generations of children. We have gotten to see the fruit and the blessing of season 4, and that's what we're going to get to next week. And so we hope you'll stay with us. Again, if you're just listening to us for the first time, please go back and listen to season 1 and season 2 of our series, the parenting series. And we just are excited to really see what God does with our faithfulness and our approach that is more like what He has asked us to do as parents.
All right, so we're going to close out. If there's anything that we can do for you guys in terms of actual parenting and coaching in any way, reach out to us at rocksolidfamilies.org. You can also call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 7625 for those of you who are like me, can't figure out what rock means. And so also we just want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for believing in the messaging and continuing to support what we do. Gosh, if you like the show, if you like the content, if you think it has purpose and value, please share it. Please. We need your help to get these kind of messages out. So please share it and give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.